And there we go. Hello to our listeners. And um hello to Penny. Penny is our special guest for today. I'm so excited to have her on. We were just giggling because we were setting an intention prayer and for this episode. And I asked her if she wanted to add anything, and she said, "Please God, no interruptions from my kids." And I just thought that was the best.
No kids, no cat. Although the cat you might hear in the background scratching at the door, but
Oh, you might hear mine too. Oh, I actually had to like kick them all out before, not kick.
huh?
Obviously, I lovingly carried them out of the bedroom because I knew that one of them at one point would want to scratch at the door or cry to go outside or whatever. So there we go. No kids, no cats. So okay, Penny. Um, this is probably the worst part. Is introduce yourself. I know my mine goes blank when people ask me to do that. Hopefully yours doesn't.
I know somebody asked me that. I'm like, who am
I know
I?
all of a sudden existential crisis. Wait a second.
All right. Well, I'm a mom, wife. I'm a psychic medium. I'm an end of life doula. I'm all the things.
I love that. So many hats.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited to get into this episode and just have a have a conversation about some paranormal things. I was
Mhm.
so excited because Penny actually submitted a story um, for me to share in the podcast. But when I saw the story and saw that she actually has so many to share, and because I know and love Penny, I thought that it would be perfect to have her on and to chat about some of those things because I know I'm someone who loves to hear about paranormal stories. I
Mhm.
actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a paranormal investigator. So the stories like this, just like but I don't watch scary movies. Cannot watch
Oh,
any scary
same.
movies. Oh,
Me either.
keep just keep them far away from me. But personal stories that are real, yeah, tell me all,
Yeah.
which is kind of backwards. Anyways, so I think before we get into like the stories, I'd love to hear first kind of like your origin story. How did you know you were a psychic medium, and did you have these experiences as a child?
So, yes. I was a big dork and we went to the library all the time and I'd get like all the books on ghosts, demonic possessions, ESP, psychic stuff. Like I read all the books that our little library had on it. I was obsessed, like even as a kid with all this stuff. I remember my grandpa, he used to actually talk to me about astral projection. I didn't know what it was at the time, but he would talk about like remote viewing into his neighbor's house. And I'm thinking, that's such a weird thing. Why do you want to look in your neighbor's house? But
I have chills everywhere. My grandfather also used to talk to me about astral projection.
really?
Oh, and he had
Oh,
books
that's
on
so
it. I
weird.
have goosies everywhere. That
That's
is
so
wild.
funny.
I love how that he used it to snoop in his neighbor's home, though,
Right?
of
Of
all
all the
things.
things you could do, why would you choose your neighbor's house? I don't know. But he was very much into that stuff. Like he would talk about ghosts and paranormal stuff. And um, I remember my mom, like growing up, I would watch, I don't remember Montel Williams show. Sylvia Brown was always on there. We'd watch that every week, crossing over with John Edward. So my mom, like I grew up in a religious house, but there was also that like curiosity there, I think, too.
Yeah.
And so I watched all the psychic shows and I just loved it. And part of it too is I think I knew because I was having weird things happening to me and I was trying to figure out why and like what it was type of thing. So when I was a kid, I used to see at night a shadow walking down the hallway. And of course, freaked me out. Like who it freak anybody out. But
Yes.
I was always terrified of like the dark and stuff, but I would see shadows as a kid. I would randomly hear music when there's no music playing. Um, I remember one time I must have been like, I don't know, 8 or 9, and I was crying for some reason in the middle of the night. I have no idea why I was crying, but I felt like a hand on my face. Of course, I stopped crying immediately because that was freaky.
Yeah.
I've always had these strange experiences, and I think I was always trying to figure out what it was. I've always been very spiritual and, believe in God and all that. And so it's like, okay, what are these ghosts in my house? But yeah, and I had one crazy experience when I was about, I think I was 13. So me and a family member, like we shared a bedroom at the time, and this was like, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. We had already put the lights out, going to sleep. I don't remember who woke up who. I think she might have woke me up, but I opened my eyes and there's like these bright green orbs all over my room. Like they're not moving, they're just everywhere in the room. And we were like arguing who's going to turn the light on. Eventually, she got up and turned the light on and it all disappeared. And I've never experienced anything like that since. And I don't know what it was, but obviously something. And, we ran and told my parents and like, oh, it must have been car headlights or, just kind of brushing it
Of
off. I'm
course.
like, right. But yeah, so that was probably one of the biggest strange paranormal things that I haven't been able to really explain. I think I'm going on a tangent now, but I'm just going to
No,
get into my
this is,
story.
yeah, this is perfect. I love this. Keep going.
So when I was about 16, yeah, I was 16, I was going through some depression, as a lot of 16-year-olds do, but I was kind of getting frustrated because like my TV would like randomly turn on by itself at night. And I'd, hear this music and all these things. And I was getting frustrated. I'm like, can you please stop doing this to me? And it stopped. Like I didn't experience anything paranormal from 16 to like my early 20s is when it started coming.
Wow.
And I think my theory is, God heard me and was like, okay, this chick needs a break.
Yeah.
And then when I was
Yeah.
ready, it started coming back. And it
Yeah.
started with the most strange thing was we had a kitten at the time who's currently the one yowling at the door. She's not a kitten anymore. She's old.
I can't even hear her.
um, so she was a kitten. This was in the middle of the night. I was in the bathroom and I saw what I thought was the kitten, coming up to me. And I'm like, oh, how did she get out of the box? Because she was really little at the time. So she would sleep in like a cardboard box. And so I reached down and my hand went through it and it disappeared. I was like, this is not my kitten. One of her siblings, I don't know. Because she just randomly walked up to my husband one day, like, wait, she just found us. Like, that's how I feel like that's how all my animals come to me. They just find us. But yeah, so that was strange. That's the only ghost cat I've ever experienced.
I love ghost cat experiences. The only time I've experienced like ghost cats has been them like jumping on the foot of my bed. Like, when you could feel, I don't know if you
Yeah.
felt that before. Um, that seems to be a really common one for people when I bring that up. It's like, yeah, it feels like a cat's jumping on your bed. And then you
Yeah.
look and there's no cat jumping on your
Yep.
bed. And I remember even like before I knew I was a medium, um, I had that experience and I knew it's so
Mhm.
weird. You just know, like, oh, like my cat Tommy from my childhood popped into my head. Um, it's funny how you kind of know, or you even when you don't realize you're a medium, you're still kind of, it's this weird inner knowing,
Yeah.
right? Like kind of like when you yelled out, "Can you guys just stop doing this?" Like even though you didn't know you were a medium at the time, like you were 16, right?
Mhm.
That's when you were
Yeah.
16. But it's cool how you still like were able to set that boundary and spirit listened.
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt like that there's like a golden nugget there for people to hear, that you can do that. Like you can talk out loud and set that boundary with spirit. And yeah, I really love that you shared
Yeah.
that. And then the green orbs. So I have seen orbs before too, and my kids have seen orbs as well. Um, that is just the coolest thing to see with your physical eyes. Like,
Mhm.
oh my
It's
gosh,
crazy.
it's it's insane. You kind of like gaslight yourself sometimes. Like, did I really see that? Did I
Yeah.
really see that? Was that real? But you know that made me think of. I don't know if this resonates with you, but it made me think of Archangel Raphael,
Mm.
because I've seen blue orbs like many times, bright blue orbs. And then that makes me think of Archangel Michael because his
Yeah.
color is blue. But, anyways, just thought I'd throw that up there. But so,
Interesting.
when was the moment that you were like, okay, I'm kind of a medium and I kind of want to see what happens? I'm so curious.
Um, so I'll start with 2017 was like a big year for me. Um, so I had my daughter in 2016, and I feel like after she was born, it's like something opened up, you know, like more and more experiences. Like somehow I got into astrology. I went down this whole like rabbit hole on YouTube. I don't even know how it started. And that kind of spiraled into like more mediumship stuff and psychic stuff. Like I'd always been interested in it, but that kind of like, I don't know, it started the whole thing. And in 2017, my uncle passed away and my nephew passed away. And I started having a lot of like dreams, very vivid dreams, especially with my nephew. He would visit me in my dreams a lot. And, I had a dream that he was living on this house on a hill. And at the time, we were trying to get a new house because we lived in a rinky dink little thing and about to have our second baby and we needed a bigger one. But I had this dream of him in this house on this hill. And then we ended up, a few months later, buying a house on a hill. And, I feel like things just started clicking. And I do remember one day I was at home and I started having like these, like I was laying down for a nap or something. I don't know, I think I was sick or something, but I started having like these visions of like people's faces, these random people just popping in like colors of blue and purple. And I'm like, what is this? And then in 2020, I started seeing a mentor, and I started doing like more like oracle card readings because I've always been kind of fascinated with those. And I feel like I really thrive in oracle card readings. Like I really do well with them. And, working with this mentor, I'm like, maybe I'm a medium. Because he started doing, all these practices with me and like, kind of remote viewing things. And I don't know, it just, I started doing readings for other people and was surprised by how accurate they were. And I'm like, am I just making this stuff up? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like you're
Oh,
making
yeah,
everything up. But then they,
absolutely.
they're like, yeah, that's right. Or yeah, my grandpa, blah, blah, blah. And it all makes sense for them. And you're like, okay, maybe there's something to this.
I love that. I think, oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Well, and I'm so glad and grateful you shared all of that. I think that's like a huge, I don't know if the right word is a misconception when it comes to this work. Like I truly believe so many people are walking around having these experiences, but and receiving information, but not realizing it because you don't know unless it gets validated,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You have
Mhm.
no idea unless it gets validated. And there's been so many times, like, not only for me personally, but even like working with students where they're like, well, it just feels like I'm making it up. Like, okay, I see this in my head, or I'm feeling this, or I'm hearing this, or whatever. Um, but they're just so doubtful the whole time that there's any meaning to it, because they have those thoughts all the time. They have
Hmm.
those feelings all the time. But then there's someone on the other end being like, oh my God, and they're able to validate the information. And then they're like, what? That's it? Like, it's not this like big, I don't know, like this big in your face thing that's just so obvious that it's you know what I mean?
Yeah, you think it's gonna be like this big booming voice from God or something, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's literally a thought in your head, and you're like, okay.
It's literally a thought. Yes. So like when we're in mediumship mode, you're literally just paying attention to your thoughts and noticing them, and you're just saying out loud what's coming through. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's it's crazy. It's crazy. Um okay, Penny, I have to say I didn't realize how much we had in common. Like
Yeah.
you're saying your story and I'm like, this is weird. Because I also had my daughter named Penny in 2016, and that's what kind of ignited things for me. And I
Oh,
started
interesting.
everything in 2017.
Yeah.
That's weird. That is so wild. And even when you're explaining seeing the colors and the faces in your mind, I remember that happening to me too. So wild.
Yeah.
Just yeah, it's just so weird. Like I didn't know other people experience that. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Um and what was the other thing? Your nephew that you mentioned, is that the one that I had
Mhm.
connected to the one time? I can't remember.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very, very sweet young man, right?
I mean, now he is. He
Oh,
was a little
now he is.
shit when
Oh,
he was here.
I love that. Of course. Well, you know. Well, okay. Ooh, question.
Hmm.
So it sounds like similar to me, you realized you were a medium and like you developed all of this after you got married,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
is your husband open? How is he with all of this? I'm so curious.
Yeah. So my husband was very much a skeptic, very, I'm not going to say closed-minded, but just like he never had these experiences, so he just wasn't paying attention.
Right.
Um, and then when I started developing more and, he was seeing that I was getting things right. And one thing I think really for him was when um, I had a reading with a medium and I let him listen to it. And she was so spot on about so many things. And he was like, wait a minute. It's something weird that happened that we kind of both shared. So we were both in the living room and I was just sitting in my chair, I don't know, reading a book or on my phone or something. I don't know. And I heard this like pop right above my head. It was like a pop of, I don't even know how to describe it, like an energy bubble just popped above my head. And he heard it too. And we're like, what was that? Still
What?
haven't explained that one. It's so bizarre. But I mean, over the years, he's definitely like, he fully accepts it now. And it's like, yeah, this stuff exists. He kind of went from like, yeah, I don't know if anything is really out there after we die or whatever to now it's like he definitely accepts it.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Like I'm like, yeah, that's really good to know, especially because it's something that really started to flourish after you guys got married.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
yeah,
feel like
same.
that's marriage, right? You marry a completely different person and you've changed together over the years. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Yeah, my husband and I are completely different people than who we were when we first got together.
right.
And he definitely didn't sign up to be married to a medium. Um, but luckily he had his own experiences as a child. Like he very vividly recalls his grandmother who passed on sitting at the foot of his bed,
Mm.
things like that. And then of course there's been times, as a grown adult, like since me doing this work, there was a few times where he had experiences of his own where he's like, okay, how did that just fall down? Or he was in the bathroom one time and a pop can went flying off the counter, and he's like, oh, not today, not today. So yeah, he's had experiences like that, and yeah, luckily he's cool with it all. So I'm always just so curious, how it is for other people.
Yeah.
So I know not everyone is open or accepting of it, and obviously
Hmm.
it's very human to be skeptical until you've had your own experiences. So I love that he had his own experiences
Yeah.
and he was able to kind of come to those realizations on his own. So yeah, that's really cool.
And I think it's good to have some skepticism because, there are people out there that fake stuff or try to get money. There's so many idiot scammers out there that you have to be discerning.
Absolutely, discernment is so healthy to have, and it's so good to have. So I'm glad that you mentioned that too. I completely agree. um it actually, like, even though I knew he believed, I was so afraid of having him at one of my group events for the longest time. He actually just came to one of mine for the very first time last year, and it was really really cool. And I find it so nice having, I don't know why I'm sharing this. I find male energy at group events is really nice too, because I find it's like so much more grounding. Usually it's like just
Mhm.
full of women. But anyways,
Yeah.
he right. Yeah, so he did come to one, and it actually turned out so nice, and it was nice to be able to share that with him,
Mhm.
and see that, oh, he is very accepting of it, and you know, open and whatever. I'm sure that's a vulnerable thing for a husband to do.
Oh, it's fine. My wife just speaks to the dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally totally normal. And the other thing is, like, he's not spiritual at all. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have, and not that this is a bad thing, I'm just saying, like, he doesn't have his own personal relationship with God or the creator.
Hmm.
um and he didn't grow up religious or anything like that, so we're very very different when it comes to that. But it was cool that he's still, supportive and all of
Yeah.
that. So yeah, anyways, now I feel like I'm going on a tangent, but so okay, what was the other thing that I wanted to share or ask you? Ooh, are any of your kids highly sensitive? Like, have you noticed similarities between what you experienced and then it happening with your kids as well?
Yeah. So I have two daughters. They're oh my God, how old are they? 8 and 6. Like
That's me with
these are
all
my
four. I'm like,
children. So my oldest, Lydia, they're both sensitive, but she's definitely sensitive. If you follow astrology at all, she's Scorpio moon and Scorpio rising. So lots of
oh,
Scorpio energy.
oh my God. Wait,
But
is she October Scorpio or November Scorpio? Because I've noticed such a huge difference between October's and November's.
no, she was born in May, so she's Gemini sun,
Oh,
but
sorry.
her
Okay.
rising and moon are both Scorpio.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's what you said. Yes.
Um, it's funny. I do have a lot of like Scorpio friends,
Oh.
but yeah, I've noticed with her, so she's very sensitive, like emotion wise, and like picking up energy. Like sometimes she'll say things that I'm like, who told you to say that? It just sounds very old. It just sounds like somebody is talking through her, not in a creepy way, but like the seed's been planted in her brain.
Yes.
um, I don't just some of the things she says, I'm like, okay. And I think that's, my spirit people on the other side relaying a message to me through her. But she was scared of the dark for a long time and talked about, seeing shadows in her room and lights and things. So I think she also probably experienced things like I did at her age. Um, my youngest doesn't talk about it as much, but I think she also is sensitive.
Okay. Yeah. The being scared of the dark thing is such a common theme with
Mhm.
highly sensitive people. Wow. I could relate to that very much so.
I know
Um,
one thing that Lydia said when I think she was 3 at the time, which just always stuck with me because it was creepy. But she has a birthmark on the back of her neck. She told me when she was 3 that a long time ago, she was a princess that was a different color and they chopped her head off. I'm like,
oh,
excuse me? Creepy.
yes, I have like painful goosebumps. Oh, wow. Wow. It is so fascinating to me when children remember other lifetimes. Like
Hmm?
that, I'm like a nerd for that. There's this video on
Yeah.
YouTube I've watched like 3 times about this woman. Her life's work is like about supporting kids who remember their traumatic past lives and like helping
Mm,
them through that and connecting dots from like to real people who lived like before these kids were even born, and like it's so, anyways,
crazy.
if you ever want to watch it, I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah.
um it's just so cool to watch. Anyways, um that's amazing, also so creepy because she was 3.
Yeah.
um and then
I'm
did
like,
you
how do you know
find,
about people getting their heads cut off? You were 3 years old.
right, I know, and like the whole birthmark thing too,
Hmm.
like, ooh, oh, gives me the willies, like, and did you find when she turned 4 that started dwindling down a little bit, or no? It did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she still will talk about seeing like lights and shadows and stuff, but I feel like 4 is like a turning point.
Yes.
I don't know, I think they start forgetting
Yeah.
things before and it starts, I don't know, that door starts to close a little bit. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, because when they come, I'm sure you already know this, but like for those listening who are curious, because like I said 4 because that's exactly what starts to happen. Um, when they're born, they're the closest things to heaven, right? They're
Mhm.
fresh from the other side, and then it seems like, and then yeah, leading up to 4, they're so connected still, they're so open, they're so innocent, like it's just,
Yeah.
they vibrate so high. And then as they turn 4, it's like it starts to dwindle a bit. I specifically, well, no, all of my kids have had experiences. They've all seen either orbs, or they've seen, spirit. They've been little messengers, things like that, which is so like freaky when when they do that. Actually, I'll share really quick. My youngest, Penny, she used to be such a little messenger, like how you described the things that she would say is like, who told you to say that? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand how that came out of a 3-year-old's mouth. Um, and so she was in daycare when, before she started school, because that's when I was really starting to like do readings during the day and things like that. And there was this one day she got home from daycare, and we had this coloring book that had these like inspirational quotes in it, and she colored this one specific page. She ripped it out and she said she had to give it to one of the girls at daycare, like one of the workers. And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet. You colored her a picture." Like, not
Uh-huh.
thinking. anyways, but it was something about her path, and like it was just like one of those positive affirmations about like following your heart or growth, whatever. I can't even remember, so I'm butchering it, of course, naturally. But anyway, so she gave that to her at daycare the next day, and it turned out that um the worker really needed that message. Like she
Oh.
really needed it because she ended up getting a job somewhere else that was going to be better for her. But she needed
Mm-hmm.
to know that it was okay to like move on from where she was to where she was going. And it was just like a message about her being supported, you know, and it's just like,
Yeah.
how can you make that shit up?
Right?
Right? Oh, and there's this other time where I was asking for a sign. You know, when you're asking for a sign and you're like, okay, if I'm meant to do this, show me this. If I'm meant to do that, show
Mm-hmm.
me this. Well, this one time I did that, but with feathers. I said, okay, if I'm meant to do this, like, show me feathers. And or sorry, and then I kind of left it be. I surrendered it and I just kind of went on with my day. And I remember I was like getting the van ready because back when I had a van. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm so squirrely right now. Okay, there we go. All of a sudden, Penny runs outside holding like two or three dream catchers. And she's like, "Here, like I found this. Like this is for you." I was like, what the fuck? First of all, where'd you even get those? I didn't even know we had that many dream catchers. Like, why are you handing me a pile of feathers? Like, you know, it just blew my
Yeah.
mind. Like, those things have happened so many freaking times. Um, yeah, and then the past life thing, I would say my third had the most past life memories. He literally used to ask us to bring him to his other dad.
Mm.
Yeah, I know. Like it was often, and we'd be like, "No, I swear this is your dad. This is your dad. This is your real dad. No, my other dad." And I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, but he was so adamant. Like he was just so sure that he had another dad, and like he wanted to go see his other dad. And it was so hard sometimes, like explaining that to someone who, I don't know, it's like he wasn't fully grounded here yet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what it felt like, because there was times where he'd also talk about his other home, his other family, like or his friends, and like he would cry and get so upset because he wanted to go see these people that I had no idea who they were, you know? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just wild being a mom. Being a mom
Yeah.
in general is like the hardest job in the world, but then you have a child who's so highly sensitive and remembering past lifetimes, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I didn't sign up for this, but this is great. This is scary.
You
Anyways,
know, I try to like anytime my kids come to me with some weird story or whatever, I try to like nurture that because, you know, I was shut
yes,
down a lot. Like, you know, I grew up in a
yes,
religious house and it's like, oh no, it's nothing or whatever. Um, so I try to validate them, make them feel validated, I guess, really. Because I mean, when you get shot down yourself so many times, you start doubting yourself. Like,
literally.
yeah. Like, am I really experiencing this? Is this really happening? It's like you gaslight yourself.
Yes, exactly. I love that you validate them. That's so important. So important. Like you said, you kind of, when you're not being validated and when you're constantly being shut down, you grow up to be an adult who doesn't trust their intuition or
Right.
their natural instincts and things like that. I totally experienced that too. So I was like, of course God would give me four highly sensitive children
Huh.
so that I could learn, you know, learn so much, of course, but also guide them in the way that I wish I could have been guided, or, you know.
Mhm.
I was kind of the only one in my family who was having these. Sorry, no, not the only one. My older sister Steph, she's into all the stuff you were talking about, like the demonology books and like
Yeah.
all that stuff. Oh my god, the like all this like exorcism stuff, and I'd be like, oh no, 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 like so scared. Yeah, she was into all that, and she definitely had experiences too. But yeah, growing up, and religious, my grandfather being a deacon, like going to church every Sunday and everything, like
Mhm.
there's just things that felt like I obviously couldn't get like answers for, or even too scared to talk about because no one else is talking about it, things
Mhm.
like that. Or you do bring up certain things, and again, you're kind of getting shut down and things like that. Maybe because they just didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I
or
feel
the
like in religion especially, you're taught it's all of the devil, like it's all demons and evil, and
yeah,
once you're like in it, you're like, no, it's really not though. Like, I mean, the work I do is of God, all these connections and things. It's like it's not evil at all.
exactly. I completely agree. I see how God works through all of these experiences, and the healing that takes place is just it's just insane.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And as a medium, just like the closure it brings, the peace it
Hmm.
brings. Um I've noticed like yeah, I have to say when there's been a few readings I've done for men where they care, how much men carry. Like, yes, women, we carry a lot, but I mean, I find men have a tendency to really hold onto so much, and they hold it in. Like, they don't talk about
Yeah.
those things with their buddies or whatever. Like, and
Right.
then they blow up and, whatever. So, anyways, there's been a few readings I've done with men where the this the readings were just so incredible, that and there were so many tears and so much relief and closure and whatever, that like those moments is what made me realize, not realize, but what's the word, solidified the belief that like
Hmm.
God is part of this.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that this is like an evil thing. It can't be. There's no
Yeah.
way.
There's so much healing and closure in mediumship sessions that it's like I don't understand how people can see it as anything but good.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that there was a video going going around on Instagram. Like, I know you love memes too, eh? And you love like
Yeah.
funny videos. Oh my god. There's this medium. I think it was Sean Connolly, is that his name? Anyways, there's a medium. I think he's in the UK or something, but he he did like a funny reel of like pretending to be a demon and saying like, you know what I'm gonna do today? I'm gonna like like speak through a medium, and I'm gonna say all of these wonderful, beautiful things that it just brings so much healing, and that's what I'm gonna do today. And the video just cracked me up so much. Oh my god. I'm so, I shared a moment, or shared about how I have those moments, and or sorry, it was my readings with men that really helped solidify that in me. I'm curious if there was like a moment, not to put you on the spot, but if there's a moment or some moments for you where that just kind of really solidified it for you.
Um, I'll say when I had a reading done for myself, not one that I did in 2020 with this medium, her name's Jenny Michelle. She's amazing.
Oh, I'll have to check
Got
her out.
all these names right, all this stuff, like it like blew my mind. I have never had a reading like that. And she's incredible. But that was like, I always knew that there was more, but that kind of like solidified to me like this shit's real. Like there's no way anybody could make any of this up like that. Like no
Yeah.
amount of like Googling or whatever, like you can't find that stuff, and that's really what, solidified it for me. And then I was doing it myself and getting things right. And I'm just like, okay, so I'm not making this stuff
Yeah.
up. It is real. It is happening.
Exactly. Well, um, yeah, I love that. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've personally experienced a reading like that yet. And I know that sounds
Yeah.
so weird. I've had like so many readings. I've had a lot of people like practice on me and whatever, but I haven't had like my own personal um I'm trying to recall now because I'm like, oh no, I better like make sure I'm being truthful here. But yeah, I don't think I've like paid for a session and like sat and had like this super mind-blowing experience yet. I really
Hmm.
hope to someday. And especially now too that my mama and my papa, like my grandparents have passed on. Um yeah, but I'm hoping that someday I'll be like, okay, that's the medium for me or whatever.
Yeah.
I've heard Danielle Saranki, I think that's how you say her last name, Squamish medium. I've heard her talk about, um, oh my God, Indigenous medium Sean Leonard. She said that was
Uh,
the most accurate reading that she's ever had. Are you familiar with him?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got, I think he has a book out now, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does. Yeah,
I've
I
seen
listen.
some of his like stuff on Facebook, and I don't have the channel down here in America, so I can't watch a show, but
What the
I
heck?
know.
You guys don't get APTN? Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I once traveled to Thunder Bay, which is 12 hours from where I live, to go see him live.
Oh wow.
My tailbone still has not recovered from that trip. But yeah, he was really good. I find his thing is like names. Like if you're someone who wants to like see someone share names 100% accurately, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, I wish. Like, that's
Right?
wild. Yeah, it's insane. He'd be like, I have a Cheryl and a Susanna with me. And then someone would raise their hand, and then he would like go on with the reading. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
I'm lucky if I can get a name.
oh,
Names are so hard. But I think so something I've read and kind of developed to be true to myself is like the way we communicate personally, like in our lives, is like how we
yes.
do readings. And I
Yes.
am shit at names. Like I will forget in 2 seconds what your name is. You just told me. So it makes sense that I would not get names in readings. It's easier to talk to dead people than it is live people. So
Actually, though, it is.
it's a whole other language because they're showing you like these pictures in your head and you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? I have no idea what it means. So you just have to say
Right.
what you're seeing, and it might be something completely different than what you thought. So it's like you can't interpret these symbols. You have to just say them. Like, okay, I see a farm, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
Exactly. Um, yeah. Okay. My mind just went blank, but I just thought I'd love if you could share um a couple stories now, like the one that you sent in, and if you
I
have
can't
any
remember
other
which one
ones.
that was.
Okay, it was about the
So
bird in the
many.
window, the bird going into the
Mm,
window. I know it was a long time ago.
okay. Yeah. So my mom passed away from cancer in 2021. And I took a couple weeks off work after that. because it was a little while between, when she died to when the funeral was, and I just needed time. So I was at home by myself. The kids were in daycare. I think they were still in daycare at the time, maybe school. I can't remember. What is years?
Actually, though.
So I was home by myself, just watching whatever stupid TV show, and a friend of mine had made uh, enchiladas for me because she made a couple like meal prep type things for me because that's what you do when somebody dies, you make them food.
Of course.
So I had it in the oven. I was like, okay, we'll just do this for dinner tonight. And I'm just sitting there watching my show, not paying attention to anything. And this bird, so we have this like huge window in our living room. It's like a big arch window. This bird just flies into the window. And I'm like, are you okay? And so I went outside to check on it. I didn't see it. So it must have, you know, gone and flown off, whatever. But I was like, okay, well, I'm up now. So let me go check on these enchiladas. I open the oven door and it is on fire.
Oh my God. The
On
poor
fire.
enchiladas.
Apparently something was wrong with the oven. We had to get a completely new oven after that. There's something wrong with the heating element. I don't know. But of course, dumb me, I don't have any kind of fire extinguisher or anything. So I'm getting like filling up a bowl of water and like throwing water into my oven. But no, the smoke alarm didn't go off. And I'm like, if I would have sat there and kept watching this stupid show, I could have burned my whole house down and not even known it. So to me, so my mom, she always sends me dragonflies and birds. So to me, that was my mom saying, get your ass out of the
Yeah.
chair and check on this burning food.
I love that. I love that she's still telling you what to do, even on the other side. What the hell are you doing? Get your ass up. I love that. Oh, it's yeah, wild how much our loved ones could support us from the other side. Like, just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, the was it last week? You probably saw this, and I don't think I talked about it on here because this was yeah. Anyways, this just happened. The juicy fruit story. Um, yeah. Sorry. Oh my god, I'm so terrible with stories. Also, my brain is still recovering from all the anesthesia I was under and everything, so it's just a little
Yeah.
bit. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna try this again. The other day, before going to a big appointment to the cancer center, I had to go into my medicine cabinet to, I think I was looking for the thermometer for my kid. So I open it up and I moved a couple things around, but there was a pack of like unopened juicy fruit gum that I had literally never seen before because we don't eat juicy fruit gum, like we don't buy that. Like I don't know where this would have came from, but I was like, that's weird. And it made me think right away of my paternal grandfather who's passed on. He loved juicy fruit gum, and that was like his thing, right? He always had gum because he was a smoker and everything too. So he always popped a gum in his mouth afterwards, and he would give us a stick of gum, his juicy fruit, whatever. Anyway, saw that, thought of him, but I just kind of, morning, getting ready with your kids and everything is like a whole thing. So I
Yeah.
would, yeah, it's just pure chaos, basically. So yeah, I just like, I went into my room. I can't remember why. And my husband then walked into my room holding the pack of juicy fruit. And he's like, why is there a pack of juicy fruit in the medicine cabinet? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I noticed that. That's so weird. And he's like, also, it's from 2010. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And he shows me the date on it. It literally says 2010. I was like, that's so fucking weird. Like, how is that? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, we've moved cities. Like, that's older than my second oldest kid. We've moved several homes since 2010. I've cleaned that medicine cabinet many times. Like, it doesn't make any I'm gaslighting myself. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And anyway, so then, we're driving to my appointment, and I'm messaging my sisters about it. And I was like, I wonder when he passed on. Like, I can't remember. And I was like, I know I was 19. Okay, what year was it when I was 19? He passed in 2010.
Oh, that's crazy.
Like, what?
Like
How?
you couldn't
How did
make
this
this shit up.
happen? You cannot make this shit up. But what was so crazy, so that happened that morning. And then the person sitting next to us got called, like when I was at my appointment waiting to see the specialist. And her name was Antoinette, which is my great grandmother's name. And she always comes around when like I need spiritual, emotional support, whatever. So I was like, okay, another sign. And I was like, watch, I'm going to get bad news because
Mm.
everyone is showing up right now, giving me signs, showing how supported I am. sure
Oh
enough,
man.
sure enough, I received news that was heavy. But still really cool. Also, someone connected the dots for me. They're like, um, he must be watching over your health or supporting you on your health journey because he put it in the medicine cabinet. I was like, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah,
How weird is that?
that's so weird.
Have you ever like found something in a place that wasn't supposed to be there, or I don't know, have any more stories you want to share?
Um, I can't think of anything that I've found. I mean, I do find like random coins that I think probably a lot of people experience that, or feathers, or
Right.
well, there was one time, so I don't go to church often. Every once in a while I go to church, but uh, my mom was very religious, and there was one time that I was at church and they were playing, whatever song. I don't remember what the song was, but like, when you're in a reading, you just get that weird feeling in your head that you're not quite here. You're like, I don't know if you feel that too, but
Yes.
so I got that feeling, and then I saw like physically in front of me a white feather like float down from the ceiling. That was like, oh, goosebumps moment.
Oh,
So that was really cool. I guess another tangent I'll go on is like, so, when you're a kid, you think, oh, these mediums, they're like seeing dead people all the time. And I guess some people do.
right.
But for me, and again, I'm an introvert, not a people person. So I think it would freak me out if I saw dead people all the time. But I have seen like full body apparitions of people before. Like there's one old man that I've seen like 3 times in my house. And I don't think it's some guy that died here or whatever, because uh, the people that lived here before us were the first owners, and I don't think anybody ever died in this house. But I don't know who he is, but I've seen him 3 times. And it's just randomly. Like one day I was walking out of the bedroom door, and like right next to the bedroom door is just the end of the hallway. And like he was right there, like next to me. And then I looked over, and of course he disappeared. You see it like out of the corner of your eye. And my husband walked down the hallway. And he's like, "Are you okay?" Like I literally just saw a ghost.
Yeah. Not the expression, like literally.
But yeah, it's just random when I see like full body apparitions of people, and I do think it's because I wouldn't want to see people all the time. I think
Yeah,
that would be
no.
exhausting.
I think so too. I totally agree. I'm out of curiosity. Do you feel like he could be connected to your husband?
I don't know.
Hmm. I don't know. I just
I
kind of
mean, it's
got that
possible.
vibe.
He's got like, grandparents that have passed on and whatever. Like I don't recognize him, but it's possible that he could be connected.
Hmm. That's so interesting, eh? Just how
Yeah.
they can just kind of show up and you're like, oh, hey, there you are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, yeah,
Another,
yeah, go for it.
you take a sip of water.
Oh, good idea. I should do that too.
I'll go on another tangent. So this was also 2021. It was like a couple months after my mom passed. I started getting, it was so weird, but like sleep paralysis, and like I've never had sleep paralysis in my life.
Ooh.
So, but it was strange because I was laying there in bed on my side, because I always sleep on my side, and it was like I couldn't move my body, and I heard like this loud, almost like electrical sound, and I was like, am I having a seizure right now? Because then my whole body started vibrating
What?
and I couldn't move, and it lasted like, I don't even, maybe 30 seconds. Like, it wasn't long, but it freaked me the fuck out. And I was doing all this research, like, what is happening? And this happened to me 3 times. And the third time, I saw at the end of it this like giant shadow person, like just hovering above my bed.
Oh.
And of course, I couldn't move, so you can't yell anything. So I said in my brain, I was like, in the name of Jesus, leave me.
Yes.
You know? In the name of the Lord.
Literally. Same.
And it left, and I've never experienced anything like that since. And I'm like, was that just sleep paralysis? Or at the time, I was reading a book about this guy who was doing astral projection. And I don't know if maybe that triggered something, but I was reading like on this forum, it might have been on like Facebook or something, somebody that said when they start to astral project, like their entire body just vibrates. And I'm like, was I starting this process? And then, in the name of Jesus, I made it go away. But it was so strange. Like
Wow.
I don't know what to think of that. Like I don't know if
Right.
that was the sleep paralysis, or, but then again, I asked for it to stop and it stopped. And it's never
Yes.
happened since. And it was just 3 times over the span of a couple months that it just randomly happened. So,
Oh, wow. That
yeah.
like gave me the chills. Yeah, I'm like literally the same though. Like in the night, if I get scared or spooked, whatever, I just call out for Jesus and I'm good. Like he's my man. I know I can count on him. Works like a charm every time.
It does. It always works.
It does. It does. Absolutely. So I love that. I love that you shared that, and maybe someone needs to hear that too.
Yeah.
I believe I do have some listeners who experience sleep paralysis, but like don't know what to do, and
Mm.
obviously you can't really go talk to the doctor about it, or if you do, I mean, you can. I'm not saying you can't. I'm
Yeah.
just saying a lot of people probably don't. Is what I'm saying.
It sounds crazy. Like your
It
body
does.
is frozen. I was like, my whole body was just vibrating, and I was hearing this weird sounds. Like I really thought I was having a seizure. It
Wow.
it's so bizarre.
That is bizarre. I've definitely had moments of like my body vibrating unexplainably. Well, sorry. In the moment, I didn't know why. Um, but I was able to connect it to like my vibration just being raised so high that
Mhm.
I was physically vibrating. Um, so that's really interesting. It just, yeah, it really makes me wonder. But this one time, on that topic of like your body vibrating, and I've probably shared this story before. Um, this was before I knew I was a medium. My third was a baby at the time. So this would have been in like 2014, 20, yeah, 2014. Anyway, so we were actually at my grandma's house. We were spending the night there because we lived from out of town. So we're spending the night there. Her and my papa were still living at the time. Um, but I remember I was sharing a bed. I don't know how small do, but I was sharing a bed with my baby at the time. He was like almost toddler, anyways. And I don't know if it was a full moon or something that night, but I just like had such a hard time sleeping. And when you're kind of asleep but not really, like you just can't
Mhm.
sink into a super deep sleep. Um so that was happening. But then I remember my whole body just vibrating, and I didn't understand what was happening. And I felt like I was making this up at the time. I remember seeing all of my grandma's siblings, who were all dead, around the bed.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they were just all around the bed. And I could hear in my mind. So was, this is why, like, I was gaslighting myself. I was like, there's no way this could be real. Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But now I realize what was happening. So I could hear them in my mind saying, oh my goodness, she looks just like her mom. And like, oh, look at that sweet baby. Like, they were having a full blown conversation at the foot of the bed.
Wow.
And I'm here not knowing I'm a medium, being like, what is happening? Like, this is so weird. And just kind of being out of it. And again, my freaking body was just buzzing, like vibrating so hard. I don't know how that didn't wake up the baby. And anyways, at one point I just had to like say it to them, like, okay, if this is real, I really need to go to bed, and I really need, like, thanks for coming. Love you guys.
Mama is tired.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
like, I'm a mom of three. I could really use some sleep before this baby wakes up. Please, like, could you guys go away? And then it stopped. They left, the vibrating stopped, and I was able to go to sleep. And then the next morning, I was like my grandma, as she like was making her, coffee and her toast and whatever. And I was like, so grandma, I just was like, I think all of your siblings visited me in the night. I could be crazy. Could maybe it didn't actually happen, but this is what happened. Oh, it was so wild. But now being a medium, I'm like, oh, my vibration was so
Mm.
high because there was like four loved ones in spirit at the foot of my bed. Like, so I, like, my energy was responding and reacting to being in their presence, or them being in my presence, whatever. So anyways, that's what that made me think of. So crazy.
Interesting you bring that up because so Jenny, who I mentioned earlier, we're friends now, over the years. And I asked her about it one time. I was like, what the hell was this like shadow thing
Yeah.
hovering over me? And she's like, I think it was Mother Mary. And it's weird. I have such a weird connection with Mother Mary. Like, I'm not Catholic or anything, but I just have such a connection with her. And I had another reading. I love getting readings for myself, but
Yeah.
with um oh, Anthony Maraca.
I love him. I love him so much.
Yes. So I had a reading with him. I actually have had two. Both times he has brought up Mother Mary because he also has a connection with her. And he's like, I think you have this connection with Mother Mary. And I'm like thinking, it's so crazy to me that something that spiritual high up would visit me. You know what I mean? Like, it's so weird to me.
Because you are so worthy of that. Oh my God, we all are. We're all her children. Um, I had to tell you something really crazy though
Okay.
about that. So, do you see how the tapestry behind you, it looks like a crown around your head,
Mhm.
and the baby blue and everything? I was like, oh, like, this reminds me of Mother Mary. Like,
Oh,
I
that's so
actually
funny.
thought that in the beginning when we first got on here. That's wild. Wow. That's really cool. Okay, wait. Oh, yeah. So if it was Mother Mary hovering above you, that would make sense why your vibration
Yeah.
was just
That would
like
make sense why I would be
insanely
vibrating.
high.
So, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for connecting that dot for me.
Yeah, no problem. And I mean, maybe other people listening have also had that experience where they're just like, oh my God, why's my body, why am I like, ooh? Um,
And, before I did all the mediumship stuff, like, I used to have panic attacks a lot, like, especially in my early 20s and teens. And
same.
looking back on it now, like, yes, I have anxiety, but I also think part of it, like, if I go into a grocery store, I feel like I wanna flip the fuck out
Yeah,
because there's so much energy, and
so
I think
much.
part of that was I couldn't manage my energy with other people's energy, and then there's all the spirit people around them, and it's like everybody's trying to get my attention, and I feel like
Yes.
a lot of my former, like, anxiety was actually just spirit, just too much spirit around.
Yes. Yes, it's that spirit energy, right? It
Yeah.
does feel like anxiety. 100%. And like I talk about that often to people who um like I bring it up often like at my, events and stuff like that because sometimes that's what it is and that's what I
Yeah.
experience. And when you're in the beginning stages of development, like have you noticed a difference between now versus when you started out? Almost like
Mhm.
it took time for your vibration and your energy to adjust to spirit energy. Like have you noticed a big difference?
Yeah, and I can tell now, like, what is mine versus what is somebody else.
Exactly. And so can you imagine how many people are walking around not
I have no idea.
realizing they have no fucking idea. I had no idea. I
Yeah.
had no idea when I was slowly like, you know, when spirit was like working on me to like help me realize this path, the amount of anxiety I had, it increased tenfold.
Mhm.
It's like my sensitivity was literally dialed up to an extreme rate after I had my daughter. That was like the big like catalyst, right? And I was like, oh my God, I can't go outside anymore. Like I actually planned in my head, I'm gonna not go see people anymore because it got to the point where going in the grocery store, if I saw someone I knew, my brain would just go completely blank. Like
Yeah.
I would have so much anxiety, like my body would be buzzing sometimes and I had no idea what was going on. Now I realize like, oh, their loved one was trying to replace my thoughts with
Right.
theirs. No big deal. It's totally
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, but at the time I was like, I guess this is my life now. I'm just gonna be a super anxious, awkward person who like can't be around people. Um and like it's so sad because I bet you there are literally people out there who've also decided that for themselves and
Right.
literally don't realize like actually I'm so highly sensitive
Mhm.
and there is a way to work through this. There are ways to help yourself through it, right? Just like
Yeah.
we learned over time and like you said it's better now because you know the difference. But a lot of people do not know the difference. And I'm making
Yeah.
my mission this year to really teach that. And I'm really excited about that. Just gonna plug that in there because it just came through so naturally. But like, yeah, it's more people need to know that like
Mhm.
you're not crazy. Your anxiety is probably just totally blown up because you're so sensitive to spirit energy. So I'm really glad that
Yeah.
we talked about that for sure. And I want to be mindful of the time because I know we've been on. I feel like we
It's
went
been
through some sort
a
of time portal. Like how has it been that long? So yeah,
while.
let's end it on that note because I know we could literally talk forever and probably have a million more stories to share. But so maybe in the future we'll have to do a part two.
Right?
Yeah. But I would love before we hop off, I would love if you can share two things. So one, is there just like a message on your heart? It could be super random that you feel like someone needs to hear right now, or like what would you say to the listeners right now? And then two, I want you to share how people could find you. Okay.
Okay. So this is kind of random, but I feel like someone listening needs to hear uh you're going to be given a lot of advice, throw it out the window.
Ooh,
Do what works for you. Don't be burdened by other people's realities.
I love that.
I don't
No,
know why that came through, but I feel
but
like
someone
someone
needs
needs
to
to
hear
hear
it.
that.
Absolutely.
So you can find me. I am on Instagram mostly, Facebook at the Penny Guilford. I have a website, pennyguilford.com. I try to do Instagram lives. I'm not always the best at it. It's
I'm
like I have
sure
to
they're great.
schedule. Well, I have to schedule time, or else I'm just not going to do it. It's like, oh. I like doing it when I do it. It's just I need to get on and do it. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. I like to share funny memes and reels. So I offer, mediumship readings, oracle card reading. It's my sessions are like a mix of oracle cards and mediumship. That's just the way I work. It just works for me. Um, but yeah,
And you're on
that's
YouTube, aren't you?
I am on YouTube. Yes, I
Yes.
do monthly spirit messages, so I am on YouTube. Just look up Medium Penny G, Penny Guilford. I should pop up. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I don't have TikTok or anything like that, so it's just YouTube, Facebook, Instagram.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to add those links in I think it's called show notes. Yeah. So I'll add those in there so people can find you. Go follow her. She shares a lot of funny memes and I love it so much. And what was the other thing? Oh, yes, and thank you for sharing about your services. And like I love that you use oracle cards with your mediumship sessions. You know what they say, there's a medium out there for everyone, right? Like
Mhm,
not just one medium out there for everyone, but there is one out there for everyone. And I think it's so beautiful how every medium is so unique because
mhm.
that's what that's what the people need, right? And there are people who are in need of exactly what you have to offer, so I love that so much. Thank you, Penny, for being on here with me and sharing some awesome stories. Some spooky, some raise the hairs on your arms, but I love it so much. And yeah, thank you to my listeners for um listening along with us. I hope it felt like you're having a friend date with us, and definitely go reach out to Penny if you are interested in getting to know her better, getting to know her services, and give her a follow. All right. Okay. Bye, guys.